I'm R.A. Schwartz, and welcome to the WNBA Insider Show. Each week we cover different topics important to the W. Using X's and O's along with key stats, we bring honest and critical analysis. I gotta be honest with everybody, I'm feeling really humbled to introduce my guest this week, Cayla McMorris. She's a former athlete from the University of Wisconsin-Madison from 2014 to 2018, and she played on their basketball team. Cayla, can you say hi to the folks? And if you want to give them a little background on who you are and why I'm so humbled for you to be here.
Yeah, hi everyone. As Arya mentioned, I did play for the Wisconsin Badgers in 2014 through 2018. So I just, finished up my career there. I would say I don't like to brag about myself, but I kind of had a pretty good season there as far as individually being an 1,000-point scorer and being a two-time honorable mention for the Big Ten. And I had the pleasure of playing against a lot of the players in the WNBA, and excited to be able to work here for the WNBAinsidr and given some knowledge as a player.
Yeah, and that's something that I think often when it comes to the W, people don't, it's a hot topic right now that in college ball there isn't enough kind of feeding in to the W as far as like education on the league. But I think even more so, just getting the college players to talk about the W and give player insight is really important because, as reporters, we know one aspect of the game, but being on the court with the crowd screaming at you is a completely different thing. Now, I'll do my best not to hold it against you that you went to the University of Wisconsin because we're both Minnesotans. But no, there is a little animosity there. For this week's episode, we're gonna, and excuse my voice, I had a late night, but we're going to kind of run through a few hot topics in the league. And I think the first thing that's really on everyone's mind was the amazing game that happened last week between the Connecticut Sun and the LA Sparks. The Sparks obviously were shorthanded, so many people might turn to it and say, oh, but they didn't have Parker, who's arguably the best player in league history. Yes, that's a huge element, but Connecticut, every time the great teams get to those contested games, you find a way to win. And I don't care if NECA wasn't playing, if Candace wasn't playing, they're still the team that was in the finals the past 2 years and won it one of those years. So if you're going toe-to-toe with them, I don't care who's playing, something has to be said. What do you think that does to a team that, kind of got on the rise last year and then was knocked out early in the playoffs to take out, as I've commonly referred to them, as a top tier, if not the top team in the league?
Yeah, I definitely would say, as far as, being a player and losing to a team more than once and then finally being able to get back to the playoffs playoffs again, I just think that brings a different fire and energy and like hungriness to that team, wanting to be able to get past the spot that they were currently in last year and just being able to prove everyone else like we're supposed to be here every year, and I think that that's exactly how the Connecticut Sun have been playing this year, and they're definitely a fun team to watch.
Oh, they are. I mean, calling them a fun team to watch is an understatement. First two games, they tally over 100 points in each game, 101 and then 102. I mean, granted, one game was against the Aces, a really shorthanded Aces, but still, I mean, to see a team that's putting up those numbers is just mind-boggling to me from where they were 2 years ago when people were calling me crazy for saying that this was going to be a team that was going to, light up the scoreboard and really compete for a title. What is, I'm sure in your playing career, you've been around some starters who have gotten injured and then come back into the fold. So I'm curious your take on the Shanae Jonquel Jones kind of whatever you want to call it situation. Jonquel really stepped up last year and in my mind took over the face of the franchise, which I didn't think anybody saw coming.
Yeah. Interesting fact, my previous head coach coached her at George Washington. So yeah, I know a lot about Jonquel Jones, and just seeing her kind of, with the injury and stuff like that, just seeing her kind of, I feel like she's definitely that spark coming off the bench right now, and that she brings a different, element to the game as far as her athleticism and being, really tall and able to, have those different guard-like skills is definitely an aspect of Jonquel Jones that a lot of people can't really do as far as being her height and stuff like that. So yeah, yep.
If
Go ahead.
if you were a coach though, because I'm looking at the minute breakdown between Shanae and Jonquel, and they both logged in the Sparks game. They both logged 32 minutes, and the only person who had more minutes than them was Alyssa Thomas. Now, do you think that's kind of a balancing act of Jonquel's coming back from her overseas, whatever it was, and Shanae's coming back from an injury? Do you see one of them becoming the clear defined starter, or do you think this is going to kind of be a by committee?
Yeah. I think that's really hard as far as from a coach's perspective to choose which one, who you'd rather have start. Because I feel like they both bring that intensity aspect to the game, and they're both very athletic players. So I think that it might be, I don't know, a committee, aspect. But yeah, I just feel like both of them bring two different types of elements to the game too, as far as Jonquel being able to not Jonquel, sorry, Chinwe being able to rebound and score too. So I think that they both that'd just be a hard decision to make, I feel like, from a coaching perspective.
Yeah, and I'm looking at LA and Minnesota, and I'm saying, okay, these teams are getting older. Obviously, that's more of the storyline for Minnesota. A lot of people talk about LA and look over the fact that they are pretty young. I mean, Chelsea Gray, Odyssey Sims, and Nneka are really not old players. Elena Beard, okay, so she's got a couple more years and can still produce right now. And Candace Parker, obviously, is on the downswing of her career. But, I mean, looking at Connecticut, and I'm just how this team is not going to if you want to call them the Lynx of the next generation. I mean, Strickland, Courtney Williams, the Thomas twins, as I like to call them, Banham off the bench, and then Morgan Tuck also off the bench, and Alex Bentley off the bench. Like, this is a team that last year, before Shanae came back, I was saying had 7 players that could start on other teams. And now you bring back somebody who's an all-star, who arguably could be in the MVP talk. I don't think that's crazy to say. Do you think that it's as simple as getting the team mindset? I know they had the team mindset last year, but do you think, I guess, what's that next step when you have all the talent, you're young, you have the drive, you have the team mentality? What do you even do next if you're Connecticut?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would just say being able to put all their pieces together. Because, each individual player on the team brings something different to the game, and I feel like being able to utilize that and, continue to produce off of that is definitely going to put them in that position where, the Lynx and the Sparks are, maybe be a championship team. And like you said, just their bench play I think their bench play is fantastic too, doing the rookie reports. And, on Letty Brown, I feel like she is definitely an aspect to the team when she gets in. She's shooting 50% the three-point line. So when she comes in and she's able to knock down shots, Banham too, and playing against Rachel Banham, seeing her score 60 points, in college, I think that they have a bunch of scorers on the team, and just being able to have everyone continuing to know their role is definitely going to put them in that position.
And not to harp on the Sun too much, but Rachel Banham's one of those players. Obviously, I got that Minnesota connection, so I'm a little bit biased, not gonna lie. But I will say she's one of those players to me that, coming into the league wasn't gonna make the splashes as far as like, oh, you need this player to start right now, blah blah blah. But she's one of those players who 5, 8, 10 years down the road is going to just be a solid starter in this league. That if you need her to do this, she can do this. If you need her to do this, she can do that. Kind of similar to, this is a bad example. I'm going to say Lindsay Whalen, in the sense of Lindsay Whalen isn't going to sit there and you're going to go, oh, she's the best scoring point guard in the league, or she's the best defensive point guard in the league. No, but she can do so many things at such a high level. That's why Lindsay Whalen's one of the top guards in the league, not because, she's the Chelsea Gray or the Christy Tolliver. So Banham's somebody who I think, might not get enough attention, but in a couple years, whether it's with the Sun, whether it's on the next team she moves to, we're going to see some really big things from her, and possibly help a team win a ring. So,
yeah, I would totally agree with that. I think Banham is definitely a player that is gonna have to take time to be molded, into that starter position. And her coming off of a bunch of injuries too, I think that kind of took away from her quickness as far as her being able to, I guess being able to be as mobile as she was before she got injured. But I think that over some years, yeah, she's definitely going to be that starting point guard that is going to definitely turn some heads in the league. So
it's gonna be interesting. And now moving on to another top team in this league, and we kind of touched on them a little bit, the Minnesota Lynx, and let's just call this segment the struggle bus, because right now I'm just, I mean, I don't want to get all happy that I'm right. But this whole offseason, I'm sitting here and I'm going, bringing in Tanisha Wright, I got a lot of respect for her. I just don't think that was a great move by head coach / GM Cheryl Reeve. Danielle Robinson, I was a big anti Danielle Robinson on that trade. I was completely against it. I called it one of the worst moves I saw this offseason. Now, in defense of the move, because I can see it from both sides, Robinson has, ignited some things. In the New York game that they won, she was really able to use her speed to the advantage. Often one of my biggest critiques of her is she's too fast for her own good. It's almost like she got injured, and then when she came back, she didn't realize that her leg's back to 100, so she's running too fast and then doesn't have the control of the ball that you need when you're running that fast. But she's definitely had her elements in it. But then you have these other players who, someone I'm hyped on, Alexis Jones, just hasn't been playing that well. Temi Fegmenley has not, when she's been getting minutes, has not been producing that well. Lynetta Kaiser has been, pretty much, she's been mediocre. Let's put it that way. And then Zandalasini hasn't even really been getting minutes. For you, what can this Lynx team do to turn it around? I mean, they have one of the best coaching staffs in the league. They have, and I'm not bashful saying this, I talk with many people about this who are big, oh no, power rankings, LA's number one or Connecticut's number one, but everyone knows, the starting five for Minnesota is still the best starting five in the league. I don't care who they're going up against, but you need more than that, especially with their age. So I guess, what's the first step to get this Lynx team going in the right direction?
Yeah, like you said, the Lynx, they definitely are one of the most experienced teams in the league right now. And I feel like that is an advantage and disadvantage at the same time because, excuse me, as far as their bench play, there's no one, to me at least, from what I've seen, can bring you what, they're being subbed out of. So I feel like, as far as Danielle Robinson, she's quick, athletic. It's just like you said, sometimes she's going 100 miles per hour, so it's hard for her, kind of being able to finish at the basket when she can get there easily. I feel like with them to be able to change things around, it's just they're going to have to find someone off the bench that can be that spark when they come in, that can provide what they're taking out. So I feel like just being able to trust in their bench play is something that they're gonna have to need going later on into the season, and especially right now too.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, who would have expected the Lynx to start the season 2-2? I'm thinking back the last 5 seasons. It's been like, are the Lynx going to set the record for the most games before their first loss? That's been the standard storyline. Now, on the other hand, some might say that's great because the Lynx have strived when they were the underdogs. So they lost to the Sparks in the first series or battle, if you want to call it. And then they come back and everyone was kind of like, well, LA was able to beat them before. They're going to do it again. They're going to do it again. LA is so good. And then Minnesota's able to pull it off. Do you think it's almost, and this sounds stupid saying it, do you think it's almost good that they're getting these losses in early? Also keeping in mind, though, that they might end up having to play a single elimination playoff game.
I would say, for the WNBA compared to the NBA, the NBA, they play so many games, so, losing games right away doesn't affect them as much as it does for the WNBA. And I think that with the Lynx, they need to figure it out now because, like you said, they could be playing that first elimination game. And I think knowing this, they have to be able to, kind of regroup and get together right away. Because it can have a long-term effect on the rest of the way that they play. So I think that, yes, at the same time, it is good that they're getting these losses out now and not soon or not coming up or during the middle of the season. but again, every game does count. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really worrisome because the Lynx, and this is something that a part of my reason I was so against the trade was like, and I know you're not bringing her in to fill the Renee Montgomery shoes, but what you touched on, you need that spark to come off the bench and kind of just like jolt of energy, adrenaline shot to the arm. And Renee Montgomery, whether or not it was defense or offense, she did that. And so when I criticize the Robinson trade, I'm not criticizing it just because, oh, she's never made a 3-pointer. Yes, that's great. That's a great storyline. But it's beyond that. It's that, can she, every time she comes in, we know she can run 100 miles per hour, but she needs to do that the second her toes touch the paint. Like the second she's in there, she needs to be running at the guard, playing full court press, because at the end of the day, I mean, I'm looking at her minutes. She's not starting a game. She's averaging around 15 minutes a game. If you're only playing 15 minutes a game, you need to be like, gasping for breath, asking for the oxygen tank when you get to the sidelines, because there's no reason not to. But we'll see. I really think there's something to be said about Alexis Jones and Xanda Licini possibly getting some more minutes. Alexis Jones is averaging 10 minutes. Xanda Licini is not even averaging a minute. So I'd really like to see those numbers get up, because when you can give a break and then let Simone get hot, take her off for a little bit, then let her get back in there, the LSU connection, Simone and Sil, is deadly for teams. And again, I mean, I guess I haven't said it in this episode, but I still think Maya Moore is going to be the MVP of this season. But that's just me. Moving on, though, to somebody who I've claimed that I'm saying if the season ends right now, she has my vote for MVP. And I know we're kind of throwing a switch. We were supposed to go to Atlanta. We'll get to Atlanta in a moment, because I'm just so hyped on Jewell Loyd. Give me some thoughts on Jewell Loyd, because she's having a lights-out season so far.
Yeah, Jewell Loyd is definitely a beast. I played against her in AAU actually. Since we were young, she's always been a true scorer and being able to put up a lot of points. I think Loyd and right now and Brianna Stewart are definitely, and Sue Bird, being at the guard position for the Storm, are definitely mismatches. I think with whatever that they play, because they all can score at very different levels. I think Jewell Loyd is definitely one of the closest guards to me that plays, like kind of reminds me of Kobe Bryant, I would say. With her just being not as tall, being 5'8", it's definitely someone who can score and put up a lot of numbers. So I really enjoy it.
Well, and answer me this. There's something that I was huge when Natasha Howard went to Seattle. I mean, my mind just started jumping for joy, because the combo of Stewie and Natasha Howard down there is just so lanky and athletic, and it's really been working. We saw some great games from them. My dream lineup right now, and this I realize there's some issues with it when it comes to like practicality and how you're gonna match up, but you have Sue Bird at the 1, then you got Canada at the 2, and then you throw Loyd at the 3, and then you got Stewie and Howard wherever you want to put them at 4-5. That lineup right there is just too freakishly athletic, too scory, and I mean, yes, there's some question marks on defense and what you're going to do, but speaking of that spark that we were talking about with the Lynx that they need off the bench, Canada has really done that. And I mean, Canada, I was looking at the stats. I was talking with Nick on our staff, and he was telling me, we were looking at the stats. Canada has like the majority, I think 75%, I don't want to butcher it, 75% of their transition points.
Mm-hmm.
Let that sink in. I mean, look, and I'll be the first to say that I was critical of Seattle taking her. I was like, why is Seattle not going for Azrae Stevens? Because the length combo of them. But now I'm like, well, crap.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a good pick for this Storm. Everyone wants to play fast, and I really think that Canada, seeing her at UCLA, and AAU too, she's always brought that element to the game. Her ability to push and transition. Like you said, she's 75% of her. She's taking up 75% of the transition points now, and her ability to defend too, put pressure full court. She definitely brings that fast-paced element to the game, and I think a lot of teams are want that and like that. So I feel like her coming off the bench, she's definitely that smart. And I may sound a little biased, but I picked Canada as my preseason rookie of the year, so I think that she's definitely been showing that so far.
Hey, you're looking really smart so far.
Yeah.
I mean, I the things that shocked me, and I'm gonna give a shout out to Maisha Hines Allen also, because these are the two players that out of the rookies that I've seen so far, I've been trying, I've logged in. I think I've seen everyone play so far, but those are the two rookies that so far to me have stood out in a league of their own with confidence. Forget, whether or not they're starting, whether or not they're playing insanely well, if the stat lines are lining up to the minutes, but the confidence that both of them are playing in have allowed them to be playing at veteran level. Now, obviously, you're going to have those stumbles because you're a rookie, and that's going to happen. But I mean, I'm thinking back to the game against the Mercury that Seattle was able to pull off and win. And in that game, I mean, Canada had like a couple steals, and I'm thinking of this one play where on the inbound, she makes a steal, plays full court press, makes a steal. Her and Stewie go back and forth. One of them lays it up. And then on the next inbound, Canada just punches the ball out of bounds. And then kind of, there's a little jostling with whatever player she was up against. And they kind of, go mouth to mouth about it and yelling at each other, whatever, they walk away. And I'm looking and I'm sitting there and I'm like, she's not taking crap from nobody. And that's what you want to see from a rookie. And she's bringing that element, play in and play out. And speak about that, being a player who comes to a new team, to a new league. Like, what was it like for you when you came to Wisconsin and you were a freshman and you got to step on the court? Like, what was your mindset? I don't want to put things in your mind. So just what was your mindset when you come to that?
Yeah, I think as far as just anywhere like you go and being like kind of like the newbie, you kind of have to, prove yourself. So I think that as far as from my experience being on the being a freshman at Wisconsin, it was just about myself and showing everyone that I can play at this level. You may be older than me, but you're not better than me, is what I'm not trying to sound cocky, but just having that type of mindset. And whoever you're up against, being able to hold your own and not back down to anyone. I think that Canada knows she has to do, just being the youngest on the team, the only rookie on the Storm, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, and being able to follow suit too, having Sue Bird as kind of like a mentor, someone is really helpful, I think, for her, being able to watch her and just knowing that even though I'm young, but I'm here to, she's there to hoop, and that's what she loves to do. So I think that that's really why she's had so much success, is just having that confidence in yourself and being able to build on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been amazing to watch, and also, I mean, I gotta say, very much so. That's what I'm seeing from Maisha Hines Allen. I mean, she's going up against Sylvia Fowles. Obviously, Sylvia was injured in this past game, so missed a little bit of it, came back. But the way she's been playing, I mean, just lights out. And I've been to a couple games because I'm based in Washington, and Tebow, after each of these games, has made a comment that, the rookies, the young players, the sophomores, if you will, are the ones who have been stepping up with this confidence. And it's almost, it's invigorating to see this young wave of talent come into the league and kind of have that swag about them that, like, I don't care. I'm here to take down names and to win games.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the rookies right now are definitely the future of the WNBA. So to me, I think that them knowing that is kind of them having to, put their foot down and be able to, like I said before, prove themselves. So I think that Maisha Hines Allen, kind of little, what do you say? Sorry. Kind of a little giveaway that I put her as rookie of the week this week. Just her, yeah, just her leadership and her energy that she brought, in that game that she played recently against sorry, I just wrote about that. Sorry. So they just in her game against the Lynx, of being able to defend Sylvia Fowles, who is a veteran and former Finals MVP last year. And I think that she did good against her, because in the first quarter, Fowles had, I believe, 14 points. out, but at the time, Hines only saw like about 18 seconds of the floor. But after that, Sylvia Fowles only scored 4 points the rest of the game. So I think that her presence was really big. And not only her, but Ariel Atkins too. And like you said, the rookies coming off the bench were what kept them in that game and brought them back to defeat the Lynx. So it's really nice to be able to see rookies having success early because, like I said before, I really believe that they are the future of the WNBA.
Speaking about the future and young players, the Atlanta Dream. Now, I think a lot of people, because of the name recognition and the press that this team has gotten, a lot of people kind of expected, I don't want to say wins to be handed to them, but they kind of expected that they wouldn't be going through the growing pains. And, I'm talking about these teams that are in rebuilds. And to me, the teams that fall in the rebuild kind of category would be Atlanta, Chicago, Vegas, and the Liberty. Now, they're all at different stages of that. Chicago has shown in some amazing fashions that, they're putting their rookies into start. Oh, sorry, and Indiana. They're putting their rookies into start, and it's been working out really well from them. They're looking like they've taken a hop, skip, and a jump towards, their ultimate goals. Atlanta's a team that, because it got so much press, I think a lot of people now are like, whoa, was I wrong? Blah, blah, blah. I think it's naive of us to think that they're just going to start with a new head coach, a couple players, like a player coming back, a couple new players coming in, and all of a sudden just work. So I guess my question for you is this something that we can expect to see, mid-season, the greatness that we all talked about in the offseason, or is this gonna take a little bit longer than we're expecting?
I think as far as for the Dream and them having a new coach, again, I think it's about building trust too. And with the trade with Renee Montgomery, the rookie Monique Billings, just being able to kind of find that chemistry again for them is something that they're definitely going to have to build right away, and I think that's going to take time. Like you said, not a lot of people expected the Dream to have this type of not so hot records are as far as being an Angel McCoughtry, watching her since I was young. I've always been a huge fan of her and stuff like that. Just seeing her kind of only averaging 14 points per game right now, she's going to definitely have to step up and be that leader that everyone expects her to be as far as being a veteran on the team. But I think that they have the pieces with Brittany Sykes and Tiffany Hayes that they can definitely do some damage. But I feel like with them it's going to take time too, and being able to adjust to the new coach.
Yeah, I gotta agree, and shout out to Brittany Sykes because I've been on the Sykes train, as I'm calling it, but I feel like nobody notices her. I mean, we wrote an article about it. We're trying to give her some attention because she's balling hard, but she's just one of those players that when I don't hear more WNBA minds talking about, I'm sitting there and I'm going, am I seeing something that somebody else isn't? Or am I just, am I taking crazy pills? Because she goes in and honestly, she might end up being 6th Woman of the Year the way she's playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Sykes, with her successful career at Syracuse, she's always been at least one of those players that brings that energy and spark to the team. But like you said, a lot of the things that she does goes unnoticed, but she does definitely have 6 women quality. So I feel like just her being able to, kind of build on what she already does is something that's definitely going to help bring Dream some wins home, definitely.
So moving on to our last topic, our last team for this episode, Kayla, the Las Vegas Aces. And I'm curious your thoughts on this team. They're an interesting team. We got a lot of flack because at the Insider, we are kind of given a little bit of criticism because I just to kind of, I feel a need to explain this. After, I don't know if it was 1 game or 2 games, and we wrote an article, what's the problem with their offense? Now, a lot of people took that as us going 1 game in, the season's over, and ignoring that a lot of their star players weren't there yet. That wasn't what we were doing. What we were doing is saying, all right, now we've started to get somewhat of an idea of what Bill Laimbeer is going to do, with this team. Now, obviously, you're going to be running it slightly differently once you have your main scorers back. But, and so maybe it was slightly misleading the headline of the article, but what we did was we went even deeper. We were looking at what Bill Laimbeer's been doing his whole coaching career and saying he's keeping in line with that, and that isn't working and most likely will not work with this team even after they get their guards. Now, I think personally they're going to be doing a lot better than they did last year, by virtue of just, the coaching, the skill set, and having a little bit more stability in the coaching. For you, I mean, is this a team that could actually shock people and make a playoff push, or is it, I guess, where are they in the rebuild? And then you can kind of take it from there and give me your thoughts on Vegas.
Yeah, I definitely think that the Aces have potential, of course, to be potentially a playoff team. But right now, I think that they're definitely in a rebuilding year because I think there's just so much going on around the team that they're definitely in a rebuilding season. And I say that because, one, I know a lot of teams have had some of their star players gone the first few games, especially overseas, them pulling McBride and having Schimmel and Reginae Lewis take their place until they came back. I think that definitely has messed with their chemistry. I think they're having to adjust to Kelsey Plum and McBride coming back and losing Schimmel and Reginae Lewis. I feel like that's definitely part of the reason why I feel like they're in a rebuilding position. And then also just that although they're not a new team, their team did move from, San Antonio to the Aces. I think that the location is different. They're playing in a new city, a new facility, and all of that. So just a lot is going on surrounding the Aces. And then also you have Asia Wilson, who was the number one draft pick, is the face of the program. But again, she is a rookie, so she is being thrown into a major role right away. I'm not saying that she's capable of that, but I think that that's going to take some time for her to really fully grasp that, and just kind of being able to, like you said, with their head coach, being able to kind of have him adjust to who he has as players, and then the players being able to adjust to who he is as a coach is definitely why I say they're in a rebuilding.
It's something really interesting because I think it's if you just look at the roster talent wise, it's one of those rosters that you're definitely like, wow, this roster's got some talent. But then you look at the experience level of these players, and then I think it kind of all comes together a little bit more of a clear picture because, I mean, they're the youngest team in the league. They're ridiculously young. They have how many first picks, how many, top draft picks are on this roster, but they're all so young and that's why I think Bill will be good for this team. He's kind of the ironclad coach, whatever you want to call him. So I think that will be good to kind of give some structure. But this team has so much talent, almost too much talent. What kind of? I mean, I just can't imagine what type of basketball is the best style of basketball for a team like this to play. Because I mean, you got big time scorers, you got some bigs who can run. I mean, then you got a slow center. Like, what do you see? I mean, just thinking about the young players, and I guess if they keep this core of young players a couple of years down the road, what do you think is going to be the calling card of the Las Vegas Aces?
Yeah, as far as offensively, like you said, it's going to be hard for them to find at least a set offense that is going to work because, like you said, there are so many players that can do something different. And I feel like with Wilson, she is that type of player that you're going to have to, let's, have a 4-out 1-in type of thing going on. Let her go to work in the post. But then you have McBride on the outside. You have Coffee who can play. I would say Coffee can play a 2 through 5 actually. So just her being able to score from inside and outside. And then you have Plum, you have Tamara Young who can shoot from the perimeter as well. I just think that with them, they're going to find something that is going to attend to each individual's strength. So I think that he's going to have a lot to juggle with, and just them being young is going to be something that they're definitely going to have to work on too. So I'm not quite sure what they can set, but there's going to be something that they can all be able to emphasize off of and build from. So it'll be interesting.
I've been saying this for a while. I want to see Beyonce perform a halftime show or bring back the Houston Comets. That's my dream right now. But maybe somebody who's listening knows somebody who can throw a stone and like tap Beyonce in the shoulder and say, "Hey, this is a cool idea." Pass it along. So real quickly, just for the fans, and to embarrass you a little bit, Kayla was being modest, guys. She, for the past 2 years, was the leading scorer or led the team with most points per game on the Wisconsin Badgers. If you can figure out what her points per game were for 2016 and 2017, and you direct message or tweet at WNBA Insider, we will get a prize of something for you. So see if you can do a little stalking on her and figure out what made her so amazing. Kayla, thank you so much for coming on the show. I know this is your first podcast, and I think you did an amazing job. So if you ever want to come back again, just let me know. We'll be glad to have you back on. Do a little. We could even have like Kayla's Corner, and you could do a little like 1 minute breakdown of this rookie's amazing or this rookie.
Yeah, I would definitely be down to do that. And just thank you for allowing me to be on this podcast. Hopefully, it wasn't too hard to listen to.
No, not at all. Not at all. Folks, I'm R.A. Schwartz with my amazing guest, Cayla McMorris. This has been the WNBA Insider Show. Each week we cover different topics important to the league using X's and O's and key stats. We're honest and we're critical. We're the WNBA Insider.